Let's take a look at linear equations in one variable. And let me write our steps over here. Solving linear equations. We have a note up at the top. It says at any step, combine like terms and combine numbers. Our first step is to get rid of parentheses. And we do this via the distributive property. Our second step is to get rid of fractions. And we multiply everything by the LCM of all the denominators. And third step, I'll write these in terms of x's. Get everything with an x on one side, numbers on the other side. And our fourth step, divide both sides by the number in front of the x. Excuse me. Well, let's take a look at some problems dealing with that. The first one here, we've got 4x minus 3 is equal to 17. Now our first step is to get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step is get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Third step is get everything with an x on one side, numbers on the other side. So I'm going to take this negative 3 and I'm going to move it to the right side. Now anytime you take anything across your equals, the sign changes. So my negative 3 became a positive 3. Our note up at the top says at any step combine together numbers. On the right side, 17 plus 3 gives us 20. And our last step, divide both sides by the number in front of the x. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. And we're going to do that, these 4's cancel. And 20 divided by 4 gives us 5. So that'll be our answer. Let's take a look at our second problem. We got negative 9z plus 7 equals negative 6z plus 1. Now I should mention, I suppose, on this problem we just did, some of you may have learned that a little bit different. You may have learned putting like a plus 3 underneath there like that and plus 3 underneath there like that. And that's fine. If you want to keep using that, as long as it works for you, that's the trick. You're going to find as you go further up in math, in this class, college algebra, you're moving so many things back and forth across the equals. It really is just as easy as when you move anything across the equals, the sign of it changes, no matter what it is. But again, if you want to keep using that as long as it works for you, then that's fine. So here we have negative 9z plus 7 equals negative 6z plus 1. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Third step, get everything with a z on one side, numbers on the other. So I'll take negative 6z to the left side, and I'll take the 7 to the right side. Anytime you take anything across or equals, the sign changes. So negative 6z becomes a positive 6z. The positive 7 becomes a negative 7. Note up at top, at any step combine together like terms. Like terms, same variable, the same power. So over here on the left side we have z's. And to combine together like terms, you add or subtract the numbers that are in front of them. Well, in this case we have negative 9 plus 6. That gives us negative 3z. And combine together numbers. 1 minus 7 gives us negative 6. Our last step, divide both sides by the number in front of your z. So we'll divide both sides by negative 3. And we get z is equal to 2. Those negative 3's cancel. Let's take a look at the next one. 9 times z minus 2 equals 9. Well, first step, get rid of parentheses. This one we actually have parentheses. A 9 in front of parentheses indicates multiplication. So we're going to take that 9 and multiply it times a z and times a negative 2. 9 times z is 9z. 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. Second step, get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Third step, get everything with a z on one side, numbers on the other. So I'll take the negative 18 to the right side. So we got 9z is equal to 9 plus 18. Remember, you take anything across or equals, the sign changes. Our note up at top said at any step combine together like terms, combine together numbers. 9 plus 18 gives us 27. Last step, divide both sides by the number in front of your z, which in this case is a 9. Like that. These 9's cancel. And 27 divided by 9 is 3. Now typically I avoid all shortcuts. There's occasionally I'll slip on that, but I find students do much better if you give them one set of instructions that work 100% of the time, or as close to 100% as they can. So if you see me work a problem and it doesn't appear like I'm doing it the shortest way, I'm skipping a shortcut. If you see it and you know when to use those shortcuts, that's fantastic. Problem with linear equations is there's probably 10 to 12 different shortcuts, and students have a hard time remembering when to use them. And so again, I'll deliberately avoid them. So we got 2x over 5 plus x over 2 is equal to 3 over 4. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. I'm going to multiply everything by the LCM of all our denominators. We got 5, 2, and 4. 20 would be our LCM. So we'll multiply everything by 20. When I say everything, I'm talking about what's separated by pluses and minuses and equals. So we'll multiply it times the 2x over 5, times the x over 2, and times the 3 over 4. Now 20 and 5 are both divisible by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 20 divided by 5 is 4. 2 and 20 both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 20 divided by 2 is 10. 4 and 20 both divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. If after you've done that simplifying right there, if all of your denominators are 1s, that means you picked the right LCM, or at least a common multiple. Well, 4 times 2 gives us 8x, plus 10 times x is 10x, equals 5 times 3 is 15. Our note up at top, at any step combine together like terms. 8x plus 10x gives us 18x. Our last step, divide both sides by the number in front of our x. So we'll divide both sides by 18. Those 18's cancel. And 15 over 18, they're both divisible by 3. So that gives us 5, 6. So our answer is 5, 6. Let's take a look at our next one. We got 5x minus 1 over 2 minus 4x plus 3 over 3 equals negative 5 over 6. Well, our first step is to get rid of parentheses. We don't have any. Second step is get rid of fractions. We do have fractions, and we'll multiply everything by the LCM of all our denominators. Well, we got 2, 3, and 6. 6 is our LCM, so I'll multiply everything by that. So multiply my first fraction by it, and my second fraction, and then the fraction on the right side. Well, 2 and 6 are both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 and 6 both divisible by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 6 and 6 both divisible by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Again, if you end up with 1s in all your denominators at this point, that means you picked the right LCM. Let me write what I have down, what I have left, and then I'll multiply it through. I always show a lot more steps than you need to. Okay, so 3 times 5x gives us 15x. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Negative 2 times 4x gives us negative 8x. And negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Equals negative 5. Our note up at the top, at any step combine together like terms. 15x and negative 8x. That gives us 7x. Negative 3 and negative 6 gives us negative 9. Equals negative 5. Third step, get everything with an x on one side and numbers on the other. So I'll take negative 9 and move it to the right side. Remember, you take anything across or equals, the sign changes. So my negative 9 becomes a positive 9. At any step, combining together the numbers, negative 5 plus 9 gives us 4. And last step, divide both sides by the number in front of our x. So we're going to divide both sides by 7. 7's cancel. And we got x is equal to 4 sevenths. And that's our answer. Let's take a look at the next problem. We've got 8 times s plus 2 equals 2s plus 6s. And the instructions say solve the equation. That's what we'll do first. Then it asks us to identify what type it is, and we'll talk more about that after we solve it. Okay, first thing I notice is combine together like terms on the right side. So we've got 8 times s plus 2 equals 2s plus 6s is 8s. Okay, so let's go through our steps. First step, get rid of parentheses. We do have parentheses. So I'm going to take the 8 here, multiply it times the s, and multiply it times the 2. Well, 8 times s is 8s. 8 times 2 is 16. Equals 8s. Second step, get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Third step, get everything with an s on one side, numbers on the other. So I'll take the negative or the 8s over to the left side and the 16 to the right. So we get 8s minus 8s is equal to negative 16. Now 8s minus 8s gives us 0. We're combining together like terms in any step. And negative 16 over there. Well, we are solving for s, and all of a sudden our s disappeared completely, and we're left with 0 is equal to negative 16. This is something that can never be. It says identify each equation as an identity, contradiction, or conditional equation. When you get this, something that cannot be, that's a no solution. Personally, this is the way I like to write it, but this book will call it a contradiction. That's the type of equation it is. Let me, I don't know if I need to save this or not. Let me go look real quick. I'm pretty sure I have these saved. Okay. Yep, I have these saved. So let me just start a new page. And let's look at our next problem. Okay, we got 4 times w plus 1 minus 5w equals 5 times w plus 2 plus 6 times negative 1 minus w. Well, let's solve it like normal. First step is get rid of parentheses. So I'll take the 4 here, multiply times a w, multiply times a 1. 4 times w is 4w. 4 times 1 is 4. Minus 5w equals, and over here, use the distributive property again. Take 5 times w, 5 times 2. 5 times w is 5w, 5 times 2 is 10. And one more time, we'll take this 6 and multiply it times negative 1 and times a negative w. Well, 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. 6 times negative w is negative 6w. Well, we want to combine together like terms. Over on the left side, we have 4w minus 5w. That gives us negative 1w or negative w plus 4. Over on the right side, we got 5w minus 6w. That gives us negative 1w or negative w. And we have 10 minus 6. That gives us 4. So combine together like terms, combine together numbers on any step. Now our second step is get rid of fractions. We don't have any. Third step is get everything with a w on one side, numbers on the other. So I'll take negative w to the left side and take the 4 to the right side. Remember, when you take anything across or equals, the sign changes. So negative w becomes a positive w. The positive 4 becomes a negative 4. Well, combine together numbers at any step, combine together like terms. Negative w plus w gives you 0. 4 minus 4 gives you 0. Well, we were trying to solve this equation, and all of a sudden our variable disappeared again. And we came up with something that's always true. 0 is always equal to 0. In mathematics, this is called an identity. It means it doesn't matter what I put up here for the variable, it'll be true. If I plug in w equals 0, it'll be true. W equals 2, it'll be true. Let's look at our last one here. See what kind of type this is. So I got 9x minus 1 over 4 minus 5x minus 1 over 2 equals 7 over 3. And let me grab a drink real quick. Okay. First step, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Second step, get rid of fractions. I'll multiply everything by the LCM of all our denominators. I got 4, 2, and 3, so 12 would be our LCM. Now you notice as I've been working these problems, all I'm doing is going through those 4 steps over and over. I'm not veering off at all. If you take those 4 steps, they'll be able to solve any one of these problems. Okay. Now 12 and 4 are both divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 2 and 12 are both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 3 and 12 both divisible by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Let me write down what I have left, and then I'll multiply it through. So I got 3 times 9x minus 1 minus 6 times 5x minus 1 equals 4 times 7. Well, I'll use the distributive property over here. We're going to take 3 times 9x and 3 times negative 1, and also negative 6 times 5x and negative 6 times negative 1. Well, 3 times 9x is 27x. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Negative 6 times 5x is negative 30x. Negative 6 times negative 1 is a positive 6. And 4 times 7 is 28. Well, combine together like terms at any step. We've got 27x minus 30x. That gives us negative 3x. Combine together numbers. We've got negative 3 plus 6. That gives us a positive 3 equals 28. Third step. Get everything with an x on one side and numbers on the other. So take 3 over to the right side. Remember, you take anything across your equals, your sign changes. So I got 28 minus 3. Our note up top, combine numbers at any step. 28 minus 3 is 25. And last step, divide both sides by the number in front of your x, which is negative 3. And those negative 3's cancel there. And we got x is equal to negative 25 over 3. Let me go back and double check myself on that. Those numbers seem weird, but let's see, 12, so 3, so 27x minus 3, that's right. By 12, that's 6, that's negative 30x plus 6, that's correct. 28, yeah, all looks good. Okay. We came up with an answer. If you solve an equation, you come up with an answer. That's a conditional equation for the type. It means it's conditionally true when x is equal to negative 25 over 3. And that's the last one in that section. So we're done with that.